Greetings all, Ben here from East West. We're going to have a look at cannabis in this video. Bit of a rocky ride today, wasn't it? Some pretty savage down action. Everything's just a hostage to the overall market at the moment, right? It's a bit rocky out there. So this is all part of it. The valleys and the peaks, the swings up, the swings down. We got to learn to deal with that. That's why we sort of analyze these things. Just try to look at it all logically at a lot of different levels, so we don't do anything stupid, and we just consider all angles. We come up with our plans and we move on. So let's have a look at where we sit with cannabis this week. So MSOS, bit nasty, right? A little bit nasty. Pretty nasty week, right? Down 11.86%. This is just on the weekly here. So, that's not perfect. But one thing I'll just draw your attention to here is just when you're looking at these candles, like this was a spinning top candle, okay? So we had a good rally and then we got a spinning top, which means indecision. Now we had wicks above our old double top, but we rejected away from them, okay? So it may be a little bit hard to see. I think we'll just get rid of this trend because it's no good for us anymore. But we did get above it, but we didn't sort of have that sort of good solid close well above. And then obviously we've had the bad candle and the bad day today. But look, when anything's bad, it's had a bad run, and just take a step back and you just look at the big picture. I'm just looking at this, right? So we're still, we're holding the cloud. But what we had been doing is this Tenkan, which is the fast moving line. The market just got a little bit hot away from it, and we've just come back to balance. So what that suggests to me is that price and time are now well balanced. Okay, so this is okay. It's all right. It's a shitty feeling, I know, when you experience these big drawdowns, but it's going to happen. But we've just come back into balance. So what we want is a nice, steady progression. Okay, and so there's nothing here that's still telling us that we're on the wrong track. Okay, it's the peaks and valleys. And so I think just psychologically, you just prepare yourself that it's quite possible that the bottom of this trend channel gets tested into next week. Might even have a slight break. I think it's still okay. I'd be a little bit concerned if this pivot gave way. So what's that? Around about $7.30. I certainly wouldn't want to see that happen. But look, one thing we've got to be. You've just got to know that the market's just on edge a bit at the moment, and if something goes wrong, everything will collapse. It doesn't matter if it's good news story or a bad news story. When the stampede starts for the door, no one really gives a shit, right? They just sell everything. So that's all right. We'll just stay out here. This trend that we're in is still good. There's no problem with it. When you look at it, we still got a high, a low, a high, a low, a high, and this high is higher than this, right? And this, so that's what I'm saying. As long as wherever this stops is above this point, we're okay. If it gets below here, we're gonna have to think again. But I've said before, I mean, just look where it gets to, and this is why I was saying, I'll just remain patient. I mean, where is it off this pivot? It's not quite there, but coming off this pivot, it's just this is the zone where you would think about wanting to be a buyer if you're believing in the long-term story and you're looking for an entry. This becomes somewhere where you can enter. Okay, when you got some bottoms here, and we've just come back and test it. Now, have we failed through here? Well, we're on the verge of it. I won't lie. I mean, it's not not pretty. Okay, but I'd also look at this progression off the top and think, okay, well, is this sort of the third wave coming down here to finish off the correction? Well, not going into Elliott, but just think about this. You've got to move down. This has been the peak. What would you be thinking is a reasonable target for the bottom of this? I might have even discussed it last week. But let's have a look. I mean, this is just as we sit here now, like on Monday, it could be a lot different. But just look at the length of that and bring it off this top. Where did we get to? 100%. Okay, so we got a 1-to-1 move, 1-to-1. Okay, different trend angles, but same distance traveled. Okay, so that would suggest that's not a bad point to think about termination. Okay, even though it's a little bit deeper than what we'd probably like to see it is only slight, and we finished back above it. So that's not a guarantee, but it is just if you're playing short, See, I mean, look what this has done. I mean, just look what this has done from here. Okay, where we get back to the 61.8, we came straight back down. This is just how it all goes together. I mean, this is probably too steep, I think, but that is corrective, so we can probably switch that. This is a shift pitchfork. It is moved. So we didn't have the geometry here, but you know, you can see where everything kind of lined up, right? The center line, the 61.8% retracement, and the 1-to-1 move. So you know that it makes sense, and then even you can sort of look to the left. You've got this where old resistance became new support, and even though we had this wick through at the just at the end, that's just a little bit of end of week capitulation. I don't know. I mean, that doesn't look that bad to me. I mean, like I said, Monday could be completely different, right? Monday we could be looking at this chart in a week and it's done this. That could definitely happen. I mean, I don't know. You know, we could do that, and we could be, you know, hopefully maybe we just do this and just maybe we're completely gone. I don't know. Maybe this World War III breaks out. I don't know. It's, you know, I would have said it's likely, but I would have said it's more likely this week than it was last week, wouldn't you? I mean, it's more likely to happen this month than was going to happen in March. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think you can worry about that. If it happens, it happens. That's what stop losses are for. But as all we can do is deal with what we can see here and now, and as we can see here and now, this goes together very, very well. As you know, as a potential for a new trend to set up. I mean, that's just a good move up with a 3-wave move back, and it ticks a lot of boxes. So I'll be very interested. I'd be very interested to watch this one. It looks pretty good to me. Let's jump over here to CURLF, and same sort of thing here. I mean, I think you've got to be, even though like I said, everything still looks good in terms of the trend's still there, but you know, we can't ignore this. I don't think. I mean, I'm certainly not ignoring it. So even though we've still got this nice trend intact, I don't think you can ignore the fact that we've had 3 visits to this area and then we've rejected away from it. You could even call that 4. Maybe you could call that a little one there. To this zone, right, that it's rejected or it's just shied away from it. And, you know, why is it shied away from it? Possibly, I don't know. It's always an area of natural resistance, you know, the 61.8, and just this is just a natural area of resistance. So we're yet to break. That remains the key, I think, for this trend to maintain. We've got to break this, and we're still struggling to do it just yet. But once again, where are we holding on the other side of this? So it's okay for now. Okay, we don't want to see too much of this lost. But, you know, we've just got to be mentally prepared for it to potentially happen, okay? So, you know, this one may be not as clear as MSOS, but, you know, we've still got the swing. We've got a higher just. We just don't want this pivot to give way. You know, that's fine. If that happens, that's fine. That's okay. It doesn't matter if it comes back this far. It doesn't matter if it breaks the retracement zone. It's just nice to see when it holds, right? When it holds, it just tends to be a good sign that you've got continuation, and you can expect the next high to get broken. Okay, so we move on to the next pivot, and here we are again. We just keep doing this over and over. But like I said, it does bother me a little bit. This. Okay, it is a cause for concern. You wouldn't want to see this again. I'm not saying that it can't do that. I want to see this broken sometime soon. I don't want to see this continue to run into this brick wall. But if we break away from here, I reckon the market will have a fair bit of velocity to it. That's how I would expect. Because every time this gets touched, it's building up friction. Okay. Now, the general thinking would be the more times it gets touched like this, the more likely it is it's going to break. And the other good thing we've got, you could even start to say, let's just clean this up. You say, oh, this is becoming a wedge. This is becoming, you know, a building wedge, and that's just friction building up, and that's true. It kind of is, yeah. So yeah, obviously, but you know, this can give way. as long as this doesn't give way. But we can get through this. That's not really a massive problem, but it's just nicer, especially nicer psychologically, if that held and then we came back and challenged. That would be nice. So, it's pretty straightforward, right? You've got your low where you don't want to break, and we've got the high. So we are just sitting 50% of the way back. We're going to need the general market to recover, or some of the good news that we've been looking for this to accelerate. We're not there yet. I don't think I need to go over this green thumb too much, because guess what? It's doing the same thing. Okay, we're just sitting within the retracement zone, and exactly what I've just said about CURLF, everything holds true here for green thumb. Okay, so we know we've got this low in place. That is just the pivot that we don't want to give way, because what we've got here is the swing structure going in as higher highs, and we just want to keep a higher low. Okay, as long as that happens, we continue on. So it's all good. As long as we hold above this, it's fine. If if something goes wrong and this cracks, we'll have to think again. But for me, that's okay. That's okay. Everything still looks okay. But always stops in place. Black swan. Disaster protection. If you get stopped out, you can always get back in. But you just get back in when things look a little bit better. So for this one, there's no real change. Everything looks pretty much the same. Now, I'll just quickly finish here with TRUL. So we looked at the possibility of this Elliott sort of structure forming up, and it's kind of playing out. And so this is why, even though we've got earnings coming up here, when's that? Oh, that's not till May. We should be okay. We don't have to worry about that just yet. But look, the point here remains, and this is why I just keep an eye on these RSIs, because when they diverge, it's just telling you that the market is getting to its peaks with less velocity than it got to the last peak. Okay, so nothing changes here. I would still be expecting some sort of three-wave move back to possibly test as low as this. Now we've got it. Now that kind of flies in the face of what I just said about the other ones, right? But I'm just taking these in isolation. I don't want to be influenced. I just want to just tell you what I see, and that's just what I see. Okay, this looks like it's making progress coming back. Okay, now it may not get this deep. It may not happen at all. I don't know. Maybe that's the bottom. Maybe that was it. I mean, when we look at this and think about it in the same way, where do we sit? Right at the 50. That's where we bottom. Okay, this is why it's important to pay attention. It would be a terrible place to sell. Someone sold there. Terrible place to sell. Okay. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's a tiny small wave like that, and that's the three-wave move. And maybe this just isn't one. Also, this may not be one complete wave. It might have to come back and relabel. That's why you don't lean into it too hard. You just draw a structure around what you can see and think, okay, well, this kind of fits the bill. We've got that divergence. Everything sort of looks like it's lining up. We had a pretty deep fall here, though. I mean, there's some questions here, but look. Once again, it's just look at it. It just happens all the time. Look where it stopped. Don't sell there. If you're going to stop out well before or stop out well after. Because the worst thing you can do is stop out right. It's the old thing, right? You sell when you should be buying, and you buy when you should be selling. You want to avoid doing that, and that's why when you lay your plan, look at what the market's done and think, the one thing I don't want to be is stopping out in this zone. I don't want to be long and stopping here. I'll either stop well through it, which means I'm definitely wrong, or I'll stop well short of it. And if I'm wrong about getting stopped out, I can always get back in. Okay, that's just where it sits. All right, look, I think I'll leave it there. I don't think there's too much more to cover here, really. It's just we're going to be hostage to the broader market. So it is weak. We are sitting in some good retracement zones. But look, it could be peace on earth on Monday. And if there is, I mean, the S&P is the S&P, right? The American stock market is the American stock market. And even if there is World War III breaking out, I'm still always anticipating an incredibly strong rally one day soon. So that's why I'm looking at this and thinking, okay, well, we've got our plans. We can see what's going on. The trends are still intact. We're sitting in good zones. Let's just watch what happens. But it's very reasonable to expect that all these stocks are going to base and start to rally from here. Will I be right? It's not about being right or wrong. It's just about this is what I see as it sits here and now. today. So we will see what happens into next week. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye for now.